everybody. Welcome back to Suspenders Unbuttoned podcast. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Julie, and we're excited to welcome Clare Niederpruem. Welcome, Clare.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's so fun to meet you. Gosh, you've directed so many of the Hallmark movies that we know and love. So it's going to be fun to kind of pick your brain and talk with you about all your projects. And we are very excited to talk about your upcoming movie, Villa Amore, which is airing June 21st.
Yes, we're really excited. It's a really cute one.
Good. I'm excited to watch it. We always love the Passport to Love series. It's fun to see the destination movies. So,
yeah, and we got to film the entire movie in Rome, so it's really fun that we were there. We were in Italy the whole time.
The whole time.
Yeah,
that's really fun.
What was your reaction to finding out you were going to film in Italy?
Oh my gosh, I was so excited. I mean, anytime you get to go to a new country and work there and like spend a lot of time there and most of your crew is local, you just know it's going to be an experience that you'll never forget. And I had been to Rome once, but only for a couple days, like a long, long time ago. So I didn't know really anything about, I wasn't sure how I'd feel about living there, but like, of course you think like, oh my gosh, it's going to be beautiful, like a director's dream, and we get to eat good food and drink good wine.
Yes.
Which all feels amazing, honestly.
It's kind of the dream job, yeah.
Yeah, real hardship.
Yeah, exactly.
Live in Italy for a few weeks.
Yeah. Hallmark keeps sending me to these beautiful countries. I'm like, you're spoiling me. And where am I going next?
Right. So you've done so many destination movies, but that was your first one in Italy.
Yeah. I've done a lot in Europe, but this is my first time in Italy.
Okay.
Yeah. If you ever need anybody to like carry the stuff or anything, I think.
Yeah. You guys will come over next time.
Sitting in the back.
I'll like carry your water bottle for you.
Perfect. That's what I need.
We can pretend we're drinking coffee at a table.
Yeah.
We're game for it all.
I'm very demanding, so. Actually, it's funny. The one thing we did miss, me and my American producers, we missed American coffee. Now, because Italy has great coffee, but it's all espresso.
Yes.
And so it's like so strong to our like American tongue. And so we're like, we just want a cold brew from Starbucks that we like carry around all day.
Right, that you can just sip.
Yeah, exactly.
No. That's relatable for me because we recently and finally invested in a really nice espresso machine, and my husband's like, that's it, I'm only drinking this, and I'm like, but I just want like a kind of crappy cup of coffee sometimes in the morning.
I know, I'm the same way.
Just give me the mug.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so what initially drew you to this story?
This movie started actually, one of the producers, Alex Koskis, sent me an article a couple of years ago, and it was about €1 homes that were being sold in Italy. And he had said, I think we might be able to turn this into a movie. Would you be interested? I was like, of course, my gosh. And it kind of went away for a minute. Like sometimes this happens with projects, it's like, oh, maybe it'll go. And then all of a sudden at the beginning of this year, he was like, remember that Italy movie about the €1 home? I think it's going to go. I'll send you, the updated script. So it was really kind of like his idea. And then we had, a few different great writers come on and bring it to life, and then my job is just to bring those words to life. But I'm really happy with like how it turned out that we got to do it now, because it felt like the right time and it felt like the cast was meant to be. And I don't know if all those things would have come to play, would have synced up if it had been a couple years ago. So so that's how it came across my desk. It was just a producer I'd worked with before, a couple of producers actually. And then, obviously I know Hallmark. And so they put me on the project. And then I've actually worked with Eloise Mumford a few times.
Right.
So it's so fun to be able to like get to work with her again. And then this was my first time working with Kevin, but hopefully not my last, because as you guys know, he's an absolute delight. So yeah.
We've
Yeah,
talked to him.
Kevin's
once or
very good
twice.
to us.
Yeah.
He's been very good to us. So you said you had a great cast. Those two are not from Italy. Is the rest of the cast Italian?
They are. So, yeah, everyone else was local Italian casting, which is so fun. And we got so many talented actors from there. The way the story worked out is kind of, they wanted it to be basically two Americans. And I think it works really well for the story because they both feel tied to this country for different reasons, but that's where they find themselves and find love. But yeah, the rest of the cast is our lovely Italian cast, and so fun to work with them, and such professionals. And European actors are so well trained, and so you really get to pick from a wide pool, which I've done in a lot of my movies. Like, we cast out of the UK and out of Europe a lot for those international movies, and I gotta say, it's always just a delight because you have so many good options, and you do here too in the States. I don't want to like put down my fellow American actors, but I grew up acting, and so it's one of my favorite parts of directing is working with actors. I love actors. I think their job is really harder than people give it credit for a lot of times, especially like on these movies when we're moving so fast. Sometimes these day players come in and they get 2 takes. That's all we have time for. So like they have to bring it, and we have to work together so quick, and
Right.
learn that shorthand. And especially in Italy, where there's a pretty big language barrier and you're trying to like communicate, and so it's they have to like be super prepared, and they always are. So yeah, that's my little tangent.
No, I love your tangent. So you're in Italy. You have this amazing cast, and then you have this scenery. How does being in Italy impact you as a director when you're making choices?
I mean, you really just want to like show off the beauty that is the country, and what was so nice about this is we got to shoot in Rome and shoot a lot of the big, we got to shoot at the Trevi Fountain and the Mouth of Truth and some of these other like big, beautiful Roman, iconic places. Yeah. But then we also got to go out to the countryside. So where our villa was like 40 minutes south, I think, of the city. Maybe it was east. Outside the city. I don't know which way, but we were out.
You there, you get
there. Exactly. But you see the countryside, which is like so beautiful and lush, and it was kind of the start of spring, and so you got that feeling of growth, and the flowers were blooming, and so like as a director, I mean, my job is basically just to like point the camera at the pretty stuff. But you can really feel like the texture that is Italy, because there's just so much history, and it's so well taken care of history that you want to give it you just want to show it off in the right way. But that's a very easy thing to do because it already is that beautiful. And we really want to, I mean, this movie, honestly, there's a lot of montages in this movie because it takes place over, she's there for 3 months, 90 days. Okay. And so we really had to like work a lot with like time of day, and we would shoot a lot at sunset and sunrise and kind of do these things to make it feel like, you are living in Italy, versus just being a tourist and going for a few days. But like the color palette is just kind of, like we would use like these yellows and these like terracotta colors that are part of like Italian villas, we would
Right.
use that in the wardrobe and in our production design. So it's basically just like amplifying what the country gives you, So it's like
Yeah.
Italy is the inspiration. And so you go there and you take pictures and you're like, okay, this can be, this can chart out exactly how we want to shoot the movie.
So you mentioned that it's just so easy to point the camera because things are so beautiful, but there must be something special you do to kind of make it pop even more on our screens. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think, as a director, it's like your job is to pick images that tell the story, basically, right? So it's like you have to show off what a location has to offer, but really more importantly than that is telling what the motivation of the story is. So, because we're not just shooting a commercial of Rome, right? We're following a woman's journey. And so you really have to be particular about like, okay, at this point she's feeling claustrophobic, and so your shots will be tighter or closer, or the camera will physically be closer to her. Or if she's, walking through the garden or something and just thinking, you can like get your Pride and Prejudice shot, which you just feel like, oh, she's just in this beautiful, she's enjoying herself, and so like, for me, I think when I first started directing, I would what we call overshoot a lot, which means like you have a lot of footage, you get a lot of different takes, a lot of stuff that you don't use because you're nervous about not having enough when you go in the edit room, right? But the more experienced, the more you do it, you understand kind of like, well, to use it like triage, right? You understand like what is most important that we absolutely need for this scene. What is the most important beat? And like, so I prep in like all different ways of like how to do that. And really the script is your Bible. And so it will tell you kind of what it needs if you can track the character properly. Sorry, so that's a lot of director talk about.
We love
No,
that.
we like that. We love that.
We love that. That's what people come for. The director job.
Yeah. But I do like a lot of like, one thing I started doing like early on was like I will write a word or highlight a sentence that is the most important part of each scene. And so that will kind of keep you on track as you're going through, because we don't shoot in order, right? And in this particular movie, we had 159 scenes, something insane. So even just keeping track of it is hard. And so you really have to like, I have my iPad and there's this great app called Scriptation where you just like, it's all just my thoughts, my notes, and that really comes in prep because you don't really have time on the shoot day to make sure the character's tracking. You have to do all of that before, and then on the day you take your notes and you're like, okay, we really need an insert of his hand grabbing hers because it's the first time they touch, and if we don't get that beat, like so it's little things like that is a director's job to keep track of tracking the entire story, and which is difficult but really fun. I mean, that's what I love about it.
And the viewers really love those beats. That's the things that they really grab to edit to, and you see them on social media and stuff. So you have Eloise Mumford as Liara and Kim McGarry as Leo. The fact that you're in Italy makes it romantic already. But what really brings the romance for these characters? You always like, you always hope that it's just a good choice. Like, you just hope it's a good match. There's part of it that's just like casting. And Jessica Callahan, who is one of the executives as Hallmark, and our other executive, Dickie Coplin, who was our main executive on the movie, they cast, along with Hallmark casting, Tatiana and the whole department. So you have to a little bit trust that like they thought about putting these people together and that it might work.
And then when we get there, you're like, okay, we hope they like each other. We hope they get along because I've been on some movies where there might be some tension and you don't want that, right? You want them to
Right.
feel like they respect each other, they can play with each other, that they have, that they're both professionals and in this case, like I couldn't have asked for better people and better performers and they loved and respected each other as good friends and that was just luck. So so that's part of it, right? Like that's the part I can't control. But then the part you can control is telling their characters what they find interesting in the other characters, right? So it's not like what Eloise finds interesting about Kevin. It's what Liara finds interesting about Leo. And so you really just come at it from a character standpoint of like, she's the type of girl who's type A, always has her stuff together, and then her life just the rug's pulled out from underneath her and she has to find her footing again. And he helps her with that. And so you really just come at it like from a character standpoint to try to make them understand why they need each other. So that's another part of it. And then, some of it's just like making sure that you have those looks, like those X factor, like of, when you're falling in love and you look at someone just a second longer than you look at a friend, or you sit closer to someone than you would. And it's really about building, a little bit that physical, a little bit, the emotional. And I think this one specifically has like some of the best chemistry I've ever seen. Like these characters just work really well together. The actors work really well together. And it feels like an adult love story. It feels like they're people who are confident in their own skin and know what they kind of want in life. They don't know what they want in life, but they know who they are. And I love seeing that because it's like I loved that the love between them felt mature. And it was and then this one's a little slow burn, which is also fun to watch. So yeah, sorry, that was a very long answer.
No, I love it. I'm like,
No,
oh,
we love answers like that. It's just what part do we respond to now?
Yeah.
um, right. So much is happening there. But so you talked a bit about these characters and their chemistry, and that Liara has a €1 place she's bought, and then Leo. As a character, this is a little bit we know about Leo that's been released, is that he's a handyman lawyer.
Yeah, you know the type. Handy. Yeah, I mean, I don't know I guess spoiler alert, but yeah, I mean, this is like revealed. I don't care. This is revealed throughout, but like, Leo is someone who did go to law school and was a lawyer and worked at like a high-powered firm and decided he wanted to step away from that. It wasn't making him happy. And I think we all know someone who's had that journey, or we've had that journey ourselves, where like you do all the things that you are supposed to do and then you realize it's not fulfilling and really you're just full of panic and anxiety and the rat race and all of that. And so he kind of moves to Italy to where he would summer because his mom was Italian, and he found peace in this country, which like I don't know if you guys have ever been to a specific country, but sometimes we're just tied to these places, and we like feel grounded, or even like wherever you went on family vacation and stuff, it just feels like nostalgic, and that's how Italy feels to him. So but then he got to back to Italy, he was like, well, I need a job, and so he started being a handyman, and he himself had bought a €1 home, so it's kind of like the new profession. But but he went to Harvard Law, so he's a smart fellow.
And then she's got a €1 house now too.
Yeah, which is really a thing.
Yes.
I don't think I saw any exactly €1 houses, but our whole Italian crew was like, this is a real thing because these small towns are based, they're kind of people are moving away and no one's buying and they're trying to get more people to live in these small Italian towns. Now, the house we shot at, they said would not be €1. It was a little nicer than that, but that's the movie magic for you.
We love the
You'll
movie
just
magic.
pretend.
Yeah. But we had to take a home because, we had to take a home that was refurbished, make it look like it was broken down,
Right.
and then work our way back up instead of the
Right.
opposite way. Because obviously we couldn't actually refurbish a home, but we can make it look worse than it is.
Movie magic continues.
Yes.
Exactly.
So, ironically, a movie with a similar plot has dropped recently on a different network. So, is that something that you were expecting? And if not, when you saw that happening, did it, concern you at all? Or do you feel like this will be a different vibe because of it, it's a Hallmark?
Yeah. No, I mean, look, you always want like I said, because we had this idea a couple years ago, and so then when you see someone else doing it, you're like, hey, what the heck? We were doing that. But that's also
Yeah.
just how this industry works. Like there's always 3 other people doing the same movie that you're doing.
Yeah.
That's just like kind of how the zeitgeist works. And so you just kind of have to know, like, well, it's just not mine. We'll make ours our own thing. We're not in competition. If people like it, then they'll probably like ours too, and vice versa. But to be honest, ours is, even though there's a little bit of the same concept of like buying the home and blah, blah, blah,
Right.
the love story is very different
Yeah.
and doesn't really have any parallels at all. So I actually think it's still going to feel fresh, even knowing like, most people watched that one on Netflix a couple months ago, but
Right.
I think ours will be better.
I'm sure.
Not that
it
I'm
is.
This is a Hallmark love story, so you know it's going to have those specific things. Was there
Exactly.
a moment when you were filming that you were like, yes, this is exactly as I imagined?
Yeah, there were a couple times on this one. I will say, like, I think that we have a few kisses in this one, and I think like those were just like beautiful, and seeing the house like brought back to life was another moment. And we had a donkey named Bocce, and the donkey was great as well.
Okay.
He's
Plot
a
twist,
big
there's a
character.
donkey.
Yeah, plot twist the donkey. The donkey comes with the house, so
I'm like, why a donkey? But there's the answer.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, no, this one really like. I mean, look, you always have like an image in your head of what a movie's gonna be, and what I love is it never is exactly that. Like that's the magic of it. You prep as much as you can, and then you let the magic happen on the day. That's what we say, But in this one, I left every day after filming being like, yeah, we got it. That was great. Because there's other times when you're like, oh gosh, I don't know. Is this working? Let's text the editor. Is it going to be okay? And this one just felt very cohesive and like I said, the chemistry was great. And there's some really funny moments with the Italian side characters, and honestly, and the day we got to shoot in Rome, I mean, we got to go to the Trevi Fountain at like 7 a.m. and film with a drone. And like, who gets to do that? It was just amazing, So there's moments like that where you just kind of have to like pinch yourself and be like, okay, just take it in. Because you can get so stressed and so anxious, but you kind of have to stop and be like, this is so cool that we can film here. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason that clip is part of the Passport for Love preview
Promo.
clips,
Yeah.
because it's look, you're
Exactly.
like, and we're in Italy.
And it really, yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Okay, so do you have a favorite moment or a location, or this could be anything, but something that the viewers can watch for while they are watching live on June 21st?
Ooh. Something special. I don't know, it's hard because it's like they'll see all of Rome, which is lovely. So I don't know what to pick from that. Um, there's a really fun sequence where they're watching a football game uh, and it was like most of our background artists were locals from the town who like brought their kids and cheered for our football team. So that was a really fun, special moment that I think people will enjoy.
I love that,
Yeah.
and it makes you football, as in soccer, right?
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
you're right, watching the right sport, where it really keeps us in Italy. Were there any unexpected challenges while you were filming Villa Amore?
We had some, I don't know if anything's unexpected anymore. It's like we had some weather issues, but that's pretty normal. We were, it's a Jubilee year in Rome, and so, which only happens every 25 years. So it was very busy. I think they said tourism was up like 20-30%.
Wow.
So so like the day we filmed in Rome, I was just sending Eloise like by the time we were at the end of the day, the crowds were just crazy and we were trying to get these shots of her like walking down the street just shopping, like montagey. And I couldn't even like communicate with her. I'm just like, go down, just walk, and I'll keep like, and she's just like pushing her way through actual tourists. Like it's not our people, but it's just kind of what you have to do to get the shot. So that was pretty fun. And yeah, I mean, working with an Italian crew is like, it's such a special experience and it challenges, me and my producers because the way they work is just different. Like they do shorter work hours than we do here. And so that's like something we have to work on is like, okay, we're used to this, but now we can only get this, that kind of stuff. But honestly, it was pretty smooth. There wasn't anything too unexpected. I mean, the donkey, like they say, don't work with animals, and the donkey was as stubborn as can be, but he's so cute, it's worth it.
What is his name again?
Baci, which
Vachi.
which means kisses in Italian, but you learn that in the movie. Yeah.
Cute.
Yeah,
Cute.
so cute.
Um,
All right, so you posted a few behind the scenes photos, and one of them was of a sign on a backpack saying, like, you might end up in this movie. So I'm envisioning that's the scene where Eloise is trying to head
Exactly.
down the street with all the tourists.
Yeah, it's always different in every country. Like I've shot in Paris before and some other big cities, but like you don't you get permission to shoot at the place, but you don't get permission to block off every place.
Yeah.
So you're battling crowds. So you try to plan it at a time, like I said, like we went super early in the morning, so it wasn't as much. And sometimes they can ask nicely and blah blah blah. But they have to let everyone know we're filming. So if you walk in this area, you might be on camera, right? So I just thought the backpack was hilarious because normally you have like giant signs. I'm sure you've seen them
Yeah.
before. Like if you walk down a street or something. But in Italy they would just have like our PAs walking around with the sign on their back. So any which way. So I thought that was so funny. But yeah, that was all our inner city Rome stuff that day. And I'm trying, because we were up at the Spanish Steps too, and Eloise had to walk the Spanish Steps like up and down, and but we lucked out. I think it was March when we were there, and it was like as sunny as could be, and for the most part, everyone's nice about filming. You usually get one or two people who want to yell and just like ruin your shot, but like one or two out of like the hundreds that you're passing is no big deal. It's more just like it's just crazy to try to communicate with everyone when you're in that sort of situation, whereas when you're shooting people in a house, like obviously it's way easy to communicate, but it's also
Yeah.
by the end of the day, you're like, oh my God, we did it,
Right.
Very
Plus,
rewarding.
it'll give such a great feel to the movie. Like, it just gives more authenticity to it when you get those kinds of shots.
Yeah, and I feel a responsibility, it's like Hallmark sends me there. Like, I got to make sure we get this stuff on camera.
Right. Right. You don't want
So,
to go all the way there and then only film in the house or,
exactly, exactly.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you
Show
know
the
ahead of
site.
time
Yep.
that it was a Jubilee year, or did you kind of figure that out after you got there?
No. No, I think it first came up when we first had our meeting with the Italian producer. And when we were there, the Pope was still alive, but there was this fear that if he had passed while we were there, it was going to be even harder to film. Um, we were done by that time, but in a way it was also fascinating because you were walking around Rome and there's all these people who took a pilgrimage to come to this Jubilee year, so there was something special about it too, even though like logistically it made it harder, but it also made it
Right.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it added a little bit of magic.
Yeah, exactly. Little blessings.
Yeah.
Because events like that have an energy to them too, like
Right.
when things are
Exactly.
happening, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And
The
like they had
vibe.
just they just cleaned the Trevi Fountain, which was
Oh,
amazing. And so
yes.
it's like as white as can be, because it was a Jubilee year. So like some of that stuff was we just benefited from it. Yeah, exactly.
Worked out just perfect for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. Perfect. Um, what do you hope people take away from watching this movie?
Oh, that's a great question. I hope people realize that it's never too late to do what you want to do. That's really one of the themes throughout this movie. Um, like I said, these characters know who they are, but they're making big changes in their life. And I
Yeah.
think sometimes we're told you have to do that by a certain age. And it's just not true. So, I hope it encourages people to take that trip if they really have been wanting to, you know. And I think in Liara's case, you know, she has something bad happen to her in the beginning, but then finds, her beautiful but hard journey along the way. And and so I hope we just go on that journey with her and realize it's never too late.
I like that message.
I mean, I kind of love that. I love when
Yeah.
there's like a little bit more to the movie, and
Right.
brings you some of those more emotional things to it.
Yeah, yeah.
How does Villa Amore differ from other destination movies you've shot?
I think the biggest thing is that it's because she's been there for so long. Well, yeah, I guess it kind of is similar to Savoring Paris in a way. I don't know if you guys saw Savoring Paris. It was with
Yeah.
Bethany Joy Lenz.
Yep.
And Ben.
And
Yep. And like it's a little bit the same feel of like a woman who goes and then decides to stay for longer than just vacation. But I love that because you get the sense that they're changing as time goes on. They're letting the country or this new experience kind of shape who they are, which is really lovely. But honestly, this movie's it just feels very real. It doesn't feel, for lack of a better term, it doesn't feel cheesy or contrived. It feels very grounded. And I think that a lot of that is one, because of how the script
a
was,
little
but
more
also
real.
two, um,
Okay.
oh, sorry, did you hear me? Did I freeze?
Yeah.
You froze a little bit.
Oh, okay, sorry. Um, Did you get that? I was just saying it just feels very real. It feels like a very grounded story. Um, I think we all could see ourselves in Liara. She's a very, very relatable character. And I love that about it because sometimes, our other well, no, I mean everyone. You match you. I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but I guess it's just like, yeah, that's what I like about it. I don't. Every movie kind of has its own special little sauce, um, and I think you find it's funny because you always think you know what it is going in, and then you don't really realize it until you're fully finished with it. Um, and I think with this one, it was like the chemistry between the two leads is something that is just really special. And I think you'll feel that. And I think you might see those two paired together again on the Hallmark Channel. Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting to hear because I don't know that we've ever gotten that answer from a director or somebody, making the movie, that the chemistry is what kind of makes it pop as a movie, right? So I think
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what the viewers are watching for.
Exactly.
They're watching for
Yeah.
that love
And
story. So
yeah, exactly. And sometimes, like, I mean, obviously it's like a director's job to also make sure that chemistry comes through with every
yeah,
film, but on this one it felt extra special. Like it was sprinkled a little bit with something that was like you could keep watching these two together. They look great together. They just kind of matched. And like again, kudos to casting. I don't have anything, I just get lucky. But yeah, I mean the travel ones are so special too, because when you are on location with the actors and with a new crew, like everyone's having this experience. It feels like summer camp. It feels like, oh my gosh, we're here and we get to go. And did you try this restaurant? And and you bond over like the weird things, like the coffee or like stuff that you're like. So that experience of being in a foreign country is amplified with the group that you have. And so I think on the foreign ones, you feel a little bit more connected with everyone.
right.
Than you would, because you're traveling. And so
Yeah.
everything feels new and exciting.
Do, does it? Do you film over a little longer period when you're in a foreign country like that?
Ugh, I wish they should let us.
But no.
No, it's Hallmark is always 3 weeks prep. For me, 3 weeks prep, 3 weeks shoot,
Yeah.
15 days. So yeah, they really don't budge on that. I think it's just like it works for them, and we make it work. But there are times when I'm like, on this one, can we just have one more? And they're like, no,
Just
no,
one
One
more.
more day.
one more day.
One day more.
Yeah, one day
Sing it
more.
for you.
Gosh. And so many times that's all you need, but this is the schedule they stick to and it works for them. And honestly, in the end, you feel like, okay, we did get everything, but the days are stressful. 15 days is like nothing to shoot a movie, feels
Right.
like. And like I said, like Italy has different working hours than we do. So,
Right.
yeah, so it's even feels like a little bit less, but yeah, no, they don't give us anything else for flying over.
Well,
They're like, you're in Italy, just be happy.
and their workday is different, so I'm just like, how does that impact you? Like,
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's just, look, it's probably better for the country, like mentally, that they don't work as hard as we do. But for filming, it's hard to get used to because here, you do over 12 hours and that's like
yes.
standard. And there it's 10, and so you feel like 2 hours of shooting is like, whoa, you can get a lot of footage in 2 hours. So yeah, we had to be even more like diligent about how much we were getting, but on this one, we
Yeah,
ended
so
up
you're
actually.
losing 2 hours a day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the
But
Italians
it's
love to
pretty.
take a long lunch.
I mean, I
someone
guess I
come
wish we
from
were all
did
a
you
little
get
bit more
lunch?
like the
Background
Italians.
is
Yeah,
yeah, that seems like there'd be a lot of time less.
Yeah.
definitely. When we were talking with Kevin a few weeks back, he mentioned there's a little bit of comedy in this one. Can you talk about that a little bit? Are we getting some comedy? Is it more rom-com or more romance?
I would say, I mean, there's a little bit of comedy in it. I would say it's more romance, though.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, Kevin is very funny. He's very charming in it, but I've done Hallmarks that are more into the comedy
Okay.
than this one. I think this one feels like Under the Tuscan Sun. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that
Yeah.
movie. But that was like a reference film for it, and it feels like that. It feels like kind of sweeping and like romantic, and there are a few funny moments because I think Hallmark's really leaning into that.
Yes.
But I wouldn't say it leads with its comedy. I would say it leads with heart. Yeah.
Good. I'm actually happy to hear that because
Yeah,
I wanted this one to
especially when
be-
you're in Italy, you want that romance
Yes.
when you're
Yeah.
watching an Italian film, and
Yeah,
it's the passport to love film, so it just feels really right. How do you, as a
Yeah.
director, stay focused creatively when you're in the middle of all of this working and the long hours?
Oh, I don't know. Caffeine.
Great answer.
Um, I mean, it's such a fun job. I love directing so much. I remember when um, I wanted to be an actor for a while, and I was not very good at it. And so I started working crew. And I was an assistant for a long time, worked in art department, worked in wardrobe, and was just working on crew for a while. And I loved working on crew. I just loved it. And then I started being an assistant to a director, and that's where I really like started to learn the job of a director, and then got to direct my own thing. And I remember like I think it was Anne, who was my mentor, saying to me like, you won't know if you like directing until you're directing, because it's not really a thing you can simulate. You know what I mean? You
Right.
think you can. Like, I remember being on crew and being like, I could do that better. But you don't really know what it's like to carry that with you until you're until you're in charge in that way.
Yeah.
And it's and then I remember also too, on my first project, like a weekend, we had like a bad day, which happens all the time, and you're like gonna go over and blah blah blah. And one of my producers said to me like, but you have to be the leader of the ship. And I was like, oh crap, that's right, that's part of the job. It's not just about getting the shots. Like, you like to think that it's about just getting the shots and helping the actors and all of that, but it's also like, you are the person that everyone's looking to. I mean, I had wonderful producers on this. Like I said, Alex Costigas, Michael Goldstein, Kate Gordon, and Joanna Swisher. But like, and so they're always there to help with the bigger stuff. But like, the majority of the crew is looking to you to be like, what are we doing next? And what's the attitude? So as soon as a director gets mad, like, everyone starts working differently.
Yeah.
And so even though I feel that sometimes and I want to yell and I want to be like, oh my gosh, just do what I want you to do, it doesn't help. You have to come up with a better way. I mean, I'm not a mom. I know you both. Are you both moms?
Yes,
Yeah. I was going to say, this is a
We're
lot
still-
like being a mom.
Exactly. And that's what people say. It's like, it's like, how can I get this kid to eat the snack, right? You come up with like different ways to do it. And that's basically what like, I feel like my job is most of the time is like, okay, how can I motivate and convince everyone that this is what we need to do so that everyone's also happy while doing it? Because I'm a firm believer that these projects are supposed to be fun. Yes, they're hard work, but like, we laugh, we have fun, we take care of each other, we make sure everyone feels like safe and happy and all of those things as much as you can. And so like, at the end of the day, we're exhausted because your brain is just working overtime. I'm sure like at the end of your shift, it's the same sort of thing, and what's nice about these films is that, they come to a close. So just when you start to feel like, is my brain power happening? you're like, oh, well, you only have 4 days left. I can work through that, you know?
Right.
But it really is, look, I've also learned like to ask for help when I need help. You know, I remember someone telling me once, like, there's going to be days when you don't feel like being a director and you have to go be a director. You just look around and ask for help because there's producers there to help you, and the actors can help, and your DP can help. And so sometimes I will just say, I'm thinking this, but I don't think it's going to work. Or, can you help me with this? I just don't have a good idea right now, you know? And the more you do it, the more you are comfortable saying that because you're like, I don't always have the right answer. And I think it was like J.J. Abrams who said like, best idea wins, and I really feel that way. So I'm very collaborative. I always, for the most part, listen. I think it's my job to come in with an idea, but if someone has a better idea, like, let's do that. That's also, you know, the improvising that makes it fun.
Right.
So you're never alone, you know, you're never there having to like, I don't know. So I guess when you ask creatively, like, how do you stay in it? I'm like, with the help of my friends who are there.
Friends. We'll just bust
Exactly.
out the wheels there.
But when you have a set that's working so collaboratively, I feel like that must kind of, you're lifting each other up, and it must get better performances and, you know, better production from everybody.
Exactly.
Rather than dictating, like, I want you to do this and this and this, you know,
Exactly.
everybody has a say, then it gives you.
Yeah, you have, like, if the mission is to make the best thing with the amount of time we have, like, and if everyone's on that same mission, it's this beautiful like flow state, you know. And then something will happen, like the donkey won't move and we lose an hour and blah blah blah, and everything will go to hell, but then it'll come back around. Like, the nice thing about film days is like there's always a moment like that, and you always try to start on a high and end on a high, so that when you leave you feel like, okay, but we did it, we did conquer it, you know. You never want to leave feeling like, well, guess that's it.
Don't you feel like sometimes when you do have those collaborative moments that you had a couple or a few ideas and then what you ended up with was even just so much better because of the collaboration?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, I want, yes, absolutely. I mean, and a lot of times it's like the discussion. You know how sometimes you're like, I don't know, picking out a paint color for your house or something, and like, you're like, well, what about this? What about that? And you just need to talk through it. And other people are like, well, what if you did this? And you're like, yes, that's what I was going for. And so, like, I think the best ideas come out of that. And at the end, it doesn't really matter whose idea it was, as long as you got there, you know?
Yes.
And a lot of times, like, for me, I always like to keep that conversation within the story because it's the easiest way to keep everyone on the same page. So it's like reminding the actors and talking to the producers about, like, okay, but this is the moment where she's really sad. So how else can we show that? I was thinking this, and then someone is like, well, what if we did this? And I'm like, yes, that's great, you know, stuff like that. Because really, like, it's all there for you in the script. You just have to make sure you're telling it as best you can.
What happens when it's not in the script? Like when you're finding like a little hole or something.
So I had this happen. I think it was I was doing a Hallmark movie called One December Night, and Bruce Campbell, who I love and adore as a person and actor, but like, he came to me with a question and I didn't know the answer. And it was like a script thing I should have known because it didn't make sense. And he was questioning it because it didn't make sense. And I was like, oh, I need to always know the answer to that question, to those questions. And so ever since then, I'm very like character motivated about how I approach it. Like, why would he enter this way? You have to have an answer for it. You do. You know, you can't just say, just do it. Because some actors will, depending on who they are, but some won't. And so, and fair, you know, like, I understand that. And so you can't just like throw things. So I guess to answer your question, sorry, I'm getting off another thing, but like, if it's not in the script, I need to come up with the answer. Or I can ask a producer, or I can ask an actor beforehand, right? So like, but mostly it really is up to me to make sure that I can connect all of those things, because without a doubt, those questions will be thrown at random times, and like you have to know, or else you're not doing a great job. And so sometimes it's not there, and so you add something. Or there's little things that you can do that if you feel like this scene doesn't really work into this scene, so I'm gonna add a transition shot that helps like get us into it, because it's not always there. And I remember Leah Thompson, who I worked with as an actor, and now she's a director. She said, because she does a lot of episodic, and this is kind of, it's like you just want to sprinkle a little bit extra. So like you want to sprinkle a little extra on the script. You don't want to change it. But like maybe it'd be fun if she was, eating ice cream in this scene, even though it's not in the script. But it feels appropriate. You do things like that. Yeah. Or what if she sits down halfway through because she feels the weight or whatever it is. And so like, but it's all, honestly, it comes back to just knowing, look, we all know a story in our head, right? Like as little kids, we were making it up as we, all the time, playing house. Yep. And so you just have to make sure you understand why the character's doing what they do. It really is almost that simple, and then everything else will come on top of it.
Okay. Now, you mentioned One December Night, which also starred Eloise Mumford.
Yes.
But I just have to say that that's one I only recently watched, and I cried the whole movie. It's really a beautiful story.
Oh, thank you. I love that one. I mean, I just got so lucky with the cast, and that script is just so heart-wrenching, and it's a little tough, but it's nice. I mean, I hope they play it more this Christmas too. It came out a couple years ago, but it was on the Movies and Mystery channel when they used to have that separate channel. And so now everything's obviously on just the one. So hopefully it'll get some more play this year, because I think it's something people can relate to.
Yeah, and it's just so well done. It felt like a real movie. No, I don't want to say that. Not a real movie.
A feature movie.
A feature.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, we had
movie.
Yeah. We got to do like a concert, original songs. Like we got to do a lot of cool stuff on that one. I'm really proud of it. Yeah.
Right. That was a fun one.
So when you're doing these movies, what do you really find rewarding about them when you finish your project?
Finishing every movie feels like a miracle. Because you feel like you're never going to have enough time or money or any of that. And then you go, and then so there's like, this is the journey of a movie. It's like stress, fun, and then you're like, you wrap and you have this moment of like, we did it, we got all the footage, I can't believe we did it, let's go have some champagne and like enjoy. And then like a week later you get into the editing room and you're like, oh no, because I'm sure you've heard this from other directors, but every time you watch the first cut of a movie you feel like you're gonna throw up. But Steven Spielberg says the same thing, so like it's a normal feeling. And you're like, will we ever make it? And then of course you end up with something beautiful, but I just like knowing that every movie is going to touch someone differently. Even with my family who watch most of my Hallmark movies, or they say they do, but they each have a different favorite one for whatever reason. Yeah. Like it doesn't even always, it's just kind of what hits you, or whether you feel connected to a certain character or something like that. And so I just love knowing we will never know exactly what impact it's making, but it is having an impact, and everyone just has its own little special something that will be someone's favorite movie out there. And that's why we do it, and with Hallmark it's so special because you get a lot of people who say I watch it with my daughter and my mom, because it's so multi-generational that you also feel like I just love the idea of families coming together of different ages and being able to watch something and have everyone enjoy it. And that's really rare these days, I think, and that's really special. So it always, and then part of you just has to throw your art into the world and just hope that like I did the best I could because, of course, we want so much control over it, but it's like, but it's not mine anymore, like it's the world's and let them, react to it how they want.
I love how you
Um,
said different people have different favorite movies. We've been to
yeah.
multiple fan events, and our favorite thing is to watch how people share how different movies have impacted them with the talent that is at these events. It's kind of amazing to see the stories.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even like I hear it too from my actors. They say like people come up to them and like, that's my favorite one, or I related so much to that character. And I mean, that's what makes it all worth it.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fun, and we've been able to see directors and writers at these events too, and they'll be like, "I love the way that came to my screen," or "I love the story that was written." It's just always amazing to see the different people and all their different points of view about the movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
That's
really
what's
is.
so nice about art.
Yeah.
It's not right or wrong. It's just, what you connect with.
Yeah. Okay, so what would you say is your signature style? Like what
Ooh.
would, make this a Claire movie?
Oh gosh. I feel like other people could answer this question better. Um, oh gosh. I mean, I am known, I will say, I think one of the reasons that I get a lot of international movies is because I do show scope, what they call scope a lot. So like that's like your big beautiful wides and the drone and really showing off like the beauty. I I love that part of it. Um, and you can get really creative even if you don't have the right money to do that. Like you actually don't need a big budget. You can come up with interesting ways to show scope. So that would be one thing I think I'm kind of known for in the Hallmark world. Um, what else? I mean, I'm gosh, I don't know. I don't know. It's hard. I feel like everything's like bragging. I don't know how to like. I don't know how
Don't
to say
break
it.
down.
Brag.
You can ask if you get to interview Eloise or something. You can ask her what she thinks mine is.
Um,
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
Women are a small percentage of the directors that bring things to our screens. Why do you feel it's important that we get a woman's point of view for things that are on our screen?
I mean, I think we should get a women's point of view of everything, don't you think? Look, I mean, these are also romances, and the females are always our number one, and they're the ones driving the story, and no one understands a female story like a female, and so I think it's like, I feel so connected with most of my leads, and in a way that like I've lived through some of it, as a woman. And I think like honestly, I think women are kind of meant to be directors because it's all about multitasking and that's what we're good at, and it's all about intuition and that's what we're good at. And so like I think you're going to start to see a big shift, I hope, of like women taking over a little bit directing because I think we're just more suited for it in a lot of ways. And I know I've worked with a ton of talented male directors, and talent is like, so subjective anyways, but I just think that the intuition that women have about storytelling and knowing how to show connection is something we have to do our whole life, and always going through transitions. Like women go through transitions much more in life, like much more frequently than men. And these stories are all about transitions. It's always about like losing something, gaining something.
Right.
And I think women are just kind of better at that. Or understand it easier. I shouldn't say better. Understand it better.
We know.
From that
We know
point
what you
of
mean.
view,
Yeah.
it at least needs to be an equally,
At least equal.
because I think
Yeah,
the
I mean,
last
I
statistic I
think like
heard was 1 in 6. Is
It's not looking good. Like it's a little disheartening because I think when I don't know, Me Too a couple years ago, like I think there was this idea that we were gonna get all these female directors and like maybe a little bit more, but like it hasn't fully shifted yet. And Hallmark's doing their part of trying to make it. They have the Women's Directors Program, which is a
yes.
huge, huge help. So hopefully, and like, I would even love to do more. I don't know exactly how, but I would love to do more to help. And because you're right, it's still 1 in 6. It's not even. I mean, I don't think any woman was even nominated for an Oscar this year as a director. It's been a couple years, hasn't it? So like,
Huh.
it, well, maybe that's not true. There might have been the French director. I can't think of her name, but yeah, we still have a long way to go.
And I feel like when a woman is nominated, it's like you have to stop for a moment and point it out. It shouldn't be that way.
I read somewhere that like they're trying to get rid of like women's panels and just make it like directors panels with women and men to try to make it like equalize it like that, because exactly what you're saying, it's like it's talked about and it's like,
Right.
but I promise you we are so capable. We don't need to act like it's like, oh, you did it, honey. It's like, no, 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 we're very capable.
We're doing it and doing it very, very well.
Yeah.
And we see that as viewers too. We want to see that balance, and it needs to show that balance in order to show us the stories that we know and live in our lives.
Exactly. Well said. Perfectly said.
Claire, is there something new that you would love to bring to like the movie of the week Hallmark films?
I would actually like to see some more female friendships worked in, because I think that we all have like a real love with our best friend or with our girlfriends. And I would just like to see them incorporate that a little more. So maybe I'll suggest it. Because I mean, we love romantic love, we love that. But sometimes I think like the true love of my lives are my friends. So, I think we should celebrate that as well. Like how would any of us get through the day without a girlfriend?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
How do your girlfriends walk beside you under a wide variety of
Exactly.
life's events?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. I love that idea.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Would you play a little game with us?
Of course.
Okay. It's a favorites game.
Okay, okay. I
You
hope I know.
have a favorite movie.
It's a tie between When Harry Met Sally and It's a Wonderful Life.
Okay, well, they're
Yeah.
icons for reasons, right?
Yep.
Exactly.
Do you have a favorite TV series or a series you're currently watching or binging?
You know what I was watching is Etoile, which is Amazon Prime ballet show. And it's
Oh,
not getting buzz and it's so good. It's so good. So everyone should go watch it. I love it. It's the same creator who did Marvelous Miss Maisel.
Okay,
So
right.
top notch.
Okay, I did
Reference.
see a promo for that, so
Yeah.
maybe I'll throw that on tonight.
Yes, please
Okay, do you have a favorite hobby?
do. Ooh. It's so hard to ask filmmakers that because I'm like, do we have any hobbies? All we do is work. um, a favorite, can I say shopping?
Yeah,
Sure.
Fashion. It's
absolutely.
terrible. I need a new hobby.
No, no, you don't. Here, I'm to the point where I'm just like, no, you don't. Do what you like with your time, right?
Yeah.
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 And
Are you an in-person shopper or online?
I actually really like in person. I
Yeah.
think it's like a stress release for me to just go walk around and
Hmm.
touch things. And even if I am not buying anything, I like seeing what people are wearing, what
Yeah.
designers are coming out with. Like I'm fascinated by styles in that way.
did you get some good shopping in when you were in Italy?
I did, yeah. I did. Too much.
Good, as you should. I mean, you
Yeah,
were there for a long time, so
exactly. I say I deserve it, but then I'm like, well, you might not deserve that much, but
there you are. I love that. Do you have favorite music or a favorite song, singer, band?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I was like a musical theater kid.
Yeah.
So I will listen to, well, obviously, I was like on Wicked for the last year,
Yeah.
coming back like second time, second time. But I'm actually really into Sabrina Carpenter right now, which I know is very like teen of me.
No.
But
Do you have a favorite song by Sabrina?
Espresso, I guess.
Espresso? Do you have a
Yeah.
favorite musical theater song?
Mm, for good from
For
Wicked.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good one. Yeah. Okay. So if somebody has no idea what Villa Amore is about and you wanted to entice them to tune in and watch live, what would you tell them?
Mm. I would say, don't you want to spend your night watching two beautiful people fall in love in the Italian countryside? Because I do.
Nailed it.
We'll fill up our espressos and
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
and watch Villa Amore.
Yeah.
Claire, where can people follow you on social media?
The only thing I really use is Instagram. It's just my name. But yeah, please follow. I've been starting to post more behind the scene things because I think people like to see a little bit of that. And so yeah, please follow.
Yes, definitely. And is there anything else we should be watching for? Any other projects coming up?
Not yet, but
Okay.
probably, hopefully something in the fall.
Oh, perfect. So if we
Yeah.
follow you on Instagram,
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
we can keep tabs. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining us today. It was really fun to get to know you.
Thank you guys. Lovely to get to know you too.
And we will be tuning in on June 21st on Hallmark Channel. I cannot talk. Channel to watch Villa Amore. So thank you everybody for watching or listening, and thank you again, Claire, for being here with us. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.